Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now continuing reviewing the X-Men movies. Now here's my review of X-Men Origins Wolverine. So, out of all the X-Men movies so far, this is the one that has the most negative reaction so far. Yeah, the movie has a 38% score on the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes. And yeah, I mean, audiences didn't really hate it that much, but yeah, this has been the least liked movie so far. And I did enjoy this movie. I remember going to see this in theaters, and yeah, I did enjoy it. And after rewatching it, I still did enjoy it just about the same. Yeah, I think it's just fine. Fine. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not really like a great movie like the first two X-Men movies were, but yeah, it is still a real enjoyable movie. Yeah, like I said before, this was kind of when I stopped liking. I didn't like the X Men movies as much because yeah, this was the start of like all the the prequel movies that they were starting to make, and yeah, just yeah, I like I said, I just this was kind of like making me start to not like the X Men movies as much because of all these prequel movies that they made, and and yeah, with them like making all of the movies that they're doing now, it just feels like Fox is only doing this to retain the rights to X Men now. And yeah, it just really comes off that way to me. I mean, the movies still are good, but it just like I've said before, it just kind of feels like they're just trying to stretch out the movies as much as they can. And yeah, I mean, I just liked X Men better when it was just like the original three movies, and yeah, before they started to just stretch it out like this. But I mean, I still did enjoy this movie. Yeah, I mean, I did still like this movie more than the third one, and I mean, I still did like enjoy. Boy, and I mean, for a story to of the origins of Wolverine, I mean, I did think that this was handled pretty good. But, but yeah, this movie it basically does tell the story of what they were talking about in the first two X Men movies with Wolverine. It talks about his history, re, like before he actually did receive his powers, and what happened to him when he did get them. And it also does talk about the history that he had with Stryker. Or yeah, it pretty much just tells the story of what was actually talked about in the first two movies, and yeah, it does it pretty well. It, like I said, it is kind of an interesting way a, to tell the origins of Wolverine and how he really did get his mutant powers. And, and yeah, just how he really did like receive the metal in his body. And yeah, and we also have like it shows a few of the other mutants from previous movies. Like it has the teenage Cyclops and it has the younger Sabretooth, and Professor Xavier makes a small appearance in this movie. So yeah, it does have like recurring mutants, but they're in different roles mostly. I mean, the only two reprising actors in this movie are Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. Or yeah, in this movie, they're Sabretooth or Victor Creed is played by Lee Schreiber. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. It's the same guy that plays Cotton Weary in the Scream movies. And they're still Yeah, and now Stryker is played by Danny Huston. Then and in this movie, there's also Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, as he would later become. Yeah, I guess you could say this was technically his first appearance as Wade Wilson, and before the Deadpool movie. Yeah, like I've said before, Deadpool is listed as an X-Men movie, and I guess it is in connection because of his role here. So yeah, you know, Deadpool's listed as an X-Men movie, but I really just consider Deadpool to be separate from the X-Men movies, like I said before, which is why I'm not gonna be including that in these X-Men reviews. But yeah, have Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson in the movie. Yeah, and yeah, in this movie, it's it's shown that Wolverine and Sabretooth are actually half brothers. There's and yeah, there's like there's Team X, which is just a group of mutants. And it's where there's Agent Zero, Wade Wilson, Kestrel, Blob, and Chris Bradley. Yeah, and Wolverine and Sabretooth end up joining them in this movie, and then Wolverine eventually just leaves. And just showing the kind of life that Wolverine has actually been having, yeah. And yeah, as I said, I think it is a good good way to tell the origin story of Wolverine and how like he started to come about with as a mutant in the X-Men. X-Men, yeah. So yeah, I do enjoy this movie. I would give it probably 3.25 stars out of 4. Or yeah, I mean, I do enjoy the movie. So yeah, let me just get right into it. Alright, so the movie opens up in Canada in the year 1845, and it has the young James Howlett, aka Wolverine. This is when he's really young. He's still a boy, and he sees who he thinks is his father killed by Thomas Logan, a groundskeeper. And because of the trauma that James is feeling, it then just activates his mutation, and it shows bone claws coming from his knuckles, and then he kills Thomas Logan, and then Thomas then reveals to James that he's his real father. And as James started to flee, he Thomas Logan's other son, Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth, he reveals to James that he's his half brother and they have to stick together. And then throughout the opening credits, it's shown that the two of them are spending the next century as war soldiers, and they're fighting in the Civil War and both of the World Wars and the Vietnam War. And yeah, as the credits are rolling, it just shows what they are going through the next century as soldiers. And then while they're in Vietnam, then Victor tried to rape a woman, and he ended up killing a senior officer that tried to stop him. And James was trying to defend Victor, and then the two of them are just ended up being sentenced to being executed by the firing squad. And but it turns out that the both of them end up surviving through the firing squad. And then eventually Major Stryker approached the two of them in military custody, and then he offered membership in Team X to the both of them. Which, yeah, the Team X I already said has Agent Zero, Earl Wade Wilson, Blob, Chris Bradley, Eve, and Kestrel. Yeah, and yeah, they join up with Team X for a few years, and James is now using the name Logan for himself. Yeah, but it shows that the entire group has a disregard for human life, especially Victor, and it just then causes James to just quit and leave the team. And then it cuts to 6 years later, and Logan is now living a different life. He's now working as a Canadian lumberjack, and he has a girlfriend, Kayla, a silver fox. Okay. And yeah, and Team X has like split up, and Chris is working in a type of carnival or something. And then Victor eventually finds him, and then he ends up attacking and killing him. And then both Stryker and Zero eventually find Logan, and and Stryker told old Logan that Wade and Chris have both been killed now. Uh, and it, and he feels that there's someone actually targeting the team members. And eventually it's shown that Victor has ambushed Kayla and attacked her too. And Logan is refusing to rejoin with Stryker, but then he found Kayla's body, and yeah, she was just unconscious and bloody. And then Logan then discovered Victor was the one responsible for the attacks. And then he found Victor at a bar, and yeah, the two of them got into a fight. Alright, but Logan ends up losing, and Victor also ends up stomping right on his bone claws. Then Stryker then just offered Logan and a way for him to actually become strong enough to actually get revenge on Victor. So then Logan ended up going through surgery to reinforce him with adamantium, which is the indestructible metal. Oh, well, virtually indestructible anyway. And yeah, once they complete the procedure, it appeared that Logan may have actually been dead because he flatlined and he had no heart rate. And then Stryker was about to start to betray Logan, and he was going to try to erase his memory, but then Logan then woke up, and then he ended up bailing and then escaped over to a farm of an elderly couple, and they find him and decide to take him in. But then the next morning, Zero ended up tracking Logan down. He killed the couple, and he tried to go after Logan too, but Logan ended up avoiding him, and Zero tried to escape in a helicopter, but then Logan attacked the helicopter and took it down and ended up killing Zero. Then Logan later on traveled to Las Vegas, where he found John and Fred in a boxing club. And eventually Fred was explaining to Logan that Victor was still working for Stryker, and he was just hunting down all type of mutants for Stryker, or for him to actually experiment on, and it showed Victor or taking down the young Scott Summers, and taking him to Stryker. And Fred explained that Stryker's new lab is on a place known as the Island, and he also mentioned and Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit, and he was actually the only one that has escaped from the island, and so he's the only one that actually knows the location. And John and Logan went to find Gambit, and they found him in New Orleans. And then Victor then showed up, and he then killed John and took his DNA. Okay, and Logan also ended up fighting Gambit, and eventually Gambit agreed to take Logan to the island to help release all the mutants that he's captured. And then they then traveled to 3 Mile Island for Stryker's lab. And then Logan is able to break in, and then he discovers Kayla has still been alive, and she's just been she's being used by Stryker to keep tabs on him for her sister's safety. Yeah. And then Stryker shows that he's refusing to actually release Kayla's sister, and he's also denying to give Victor the adamantium bonding that he promised Victor, because he feels that Victor wouldn't survive the operation after seeing the test results. And Logan and Kayla are able to actually free all of the captured mutants, and they try to get them out, but then Stryker then activated Wade, who has been modified into Weapon 11, that has multiple mutant powers. And Logan ended up fighting him as the others tried to find a way out. Logan ended up doing battle with Weapon 11, and eventually Victor came to help him. And also, as that's going on, Kayla ends up wounded, and he then just led all of the young mutants to safety. And Logan eventually then defeats Weapon 11 after decapitating him. And then it also destroyed one of the cooling towers. And all the mutants are then rescued by Professor Xavier here in his helicopter. And then Stryker then ends up shooting Logan in the head with the adamantium bullets. And then after getting him in the head, then Logan ends up unconscious, and he ends up with the retrograde amnesia. And before he can also shoot Kayla then just grabs onto Stryker, and she uses her power to just make Stryker just turn around and walk away until his feet bleed. And then eventually Logan does wake up, but he doesn't have any of his memory again. He has no more of his memory. And yeah, Gambit is trying to help him get off the island, but then he saw Kayla's body, but he of course didn't recognize her. And then he just ended up shutting her open eyes, and then just left from the island, and yeah, that's how the movie ended. Well, it cut to credits there, but then yeah, during the credits, it then showed Stryker ended up being arrested for questioning, and, and for the death of his superior, General Munson, who he actually did kill after, or he declared Stryker's, and he yeah, he was gonna shut down Stryker's project, so yeah, he ended up being detained. And then yeah, after the credits, then it then just showed all of Weapon 11's limbs and his still moving, and yeah, it also showed him opening up his eyes. And so yeah, it showed that he was still alive, and yeah, it would carry over to the Deadpool movie. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, that's how it ended. So yeah, like I said, 3.25 stars out of 4. I did enjoy it. It, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, I still did enjoy watching this movie. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do think it is an interesting way to show the origins of Wolverine and just seeing the story that they talked about in the first two X-Men movies. So yeah, I did find myself still enjoying this movie. Alright, so yeah, that's for my review of X-Men Origins Wolverine. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.